Morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here with all of you. Let me just share my screen and take you through a little context as to why is the so much of attention being paid to this nascent sector. So why are we calling this the drone revolution, and why are we calling this India's shining lighthouse? I think it's important for all of us to understand in the last few months, the mood in this particular sector has changed from absolutely despondency about 7-8 months back to now being jubilant. And it's all happened because of a lot of policy related matters that have come about. And we'll discuss a little bit about that. We'll also discuss why is this technology catching the attention of everyone, and why is it called a revolutionary or a transformative technology. Let me take you through the regulatory journey of how the things have evolved. If you look at the timeline, 2014 was when the drones for commercial use were completely banned. They were partially opened up in August of 2018. And thereafter, there was a period of time over the last 2.5 years when drones were allowed on an exception basis in the commercial or the civil sector. Then in March 2021, we had the notification of the UAS rules 2021, which really started a period of what I call going back into time. And again, while not completely banning the drones, but it became very complicated to leverage the use of drones. And then over the last 3 months, between the 25th August 2021 notification of the drone rules, which repealed the old UAS rules, the announcement of the 15th September PLI scheme, the 25th September release of the aerospace maps for drones, and even as of today morning, there is another announcement that we will discuss about, which will have a further impact on how drones can be used in the civil sector. All of this is really happening because of the overcoming of the so-called mindset of fear from the misuse of drones to really realizing the potential of drones for a transformative effect. The key features of the drone rules are all visible to all of us. They are all available in public domain, and I would recommend all of you to go through these because these are simple rules. The document itself is highly simplified. At the same time, now anyone in the green zones can operate nano drones without any permissions being required. For some of the other areas or some of the other type of drones, you need to apply on the Digital Sky platform. And all of that is going to become extremely simple, as we have been informed from 26th January onwards. The National Unmanned Aircraft System Traffic Management, or the UTM policy framework, just got released today morning. This is showing you how the various components of the entire ecosystem, from the drones themselves to the remote pilots who are managing the drones, and to various service providers, both in the unmanned traffic management and the special services, and also the Digital Sky platform. How will they all communicate and collaborate with each other to make drone operations completely safe for operations of the aircraft itself, the drone itself, as well as the manned aircraft? On Sunday, we had the Prime Minister talk about drones at his Man Ki Baat event for about 4 minutes. Again, he talked about India becoming a leading country in drone technology. He also spoke about India being among the first countries that are preparing digital RAN records of the villages with the help of drones. Just exactly a month back at the United Nations General Assembly, he again mentioned about the same scheme and talked about how the digital records are facilitating access of credit to all our villagers and also helping in reducing the property disputes. To me, this is actually one of the key reasons why this has caught the attention of the top leadership in the country. Because in a matter of a little over a year, this one scheme launched in April of last year has really transformed the lives of more than 1 million households in the rural areas. Yesterday was a landmark day in the scheme itself, where while the target for the pilot phase was 50,000 villages, but more than 60,000 villages have already been mapped. Out of that, about 1 million village households, as I said, have already got their property cards, which gives them various benefits. The financial stability and access to loans, property tax determination, the development plans in the villages can become better, and the property related disputes can be completely done away with. And all of this because drones have been used extensively in aerial imagery capture and then transforming that into the digital certificates. These are just an example of the reason why drone technology is being called an enabling societal impact technology, which is delivering value across multiple sectors that the Prime Minister talked about in the Mann Ki Baat speech. And these are just a glimpse of how this one technology, which was being, in a way, not allowed to be used in the commercial use, now is ready to transform multiple sectors. Let me jump into a little bit more about what is the potential of this scheme and how the PLI scheme that we just talked about will be relevant. September of last year, we had formed this working group under the Ministry of Commerce and Industries and the Scale Committee's guidance to understand the potential of the drone sector and create a blueprint for what are the things that need to be done. Both the opening up of the sector from a regulatory standpoint and the PLI scheme were outcomes of this committee, which was formed really with a vision to make India the drone hub of the world, which had been communicated from the government side. And we estimated a total manufacturing potential of 180,000 crores for drones in India by 2030. This, just bear in mind, is only covering the sectors which are mentioned here. And many of the other sectors, even like healthcare or like the air taxi services or even the services around drones, have not yet been estimated into these numbers. And if we see 180,000 crores cumulatively for an industry which is today estimated to be just in double digit of revenue as of last year, is now a huge potential opportunity for not only the larger companies, but to me, more importantly, for the hundreds of startups which are operating in this space. If you look at the various sectors in those numbers, so out of the 75,000 crores of the commercial sector, agriculture is one of the largest at 26,800 crores. Infrastructure monitoring is another one at 27,000 crores, and retail and supply chain is about 21,000 crores. Now, these three sectors, which themselves are not, let's say, are not identical to each other, but the applications are diverse within them. And the reason being that for agriculture, if we see the potential of drones and even for infrastructure, the benefits of usage of drones will be delivered to the common man. And that benefit will accrue in a wide variety of manner. Let's briefly talk about agriculture. At a recent event on 6th October, where we had launched with the Minister for Civil Aviation, Sri Jyotiraditya Scindia, these were some of the applications or examples of use cases for drones in agriculture, which were talked about by the panel. And these are all related to either generating aerial intelligence or using them for pesticide spraying or micronutrient spraying, or even for quelling the pest attacks that happened last year, and even going forward for planting of seeds and afforestation. These are examples of how a simple tool can really help in multiple areas, in the end objective being doubling the farmer's income. And as we see going forward, this kind of a number of use cases will come out in more than 20 different sectors in the country. And the drone suppliers, the drone service providers, and even the end users will all stand to benefit from that. We are now with the three major policy announcements already having taken place: the drone rules themselves, the PLI policy, and today the UTM policy. We are now jointly with the Ministry of Civil Aviation starting to conduct programs of mass awareness so that the benefit of drones is not just known to people who are joining this webinar, but people in the villages, people in the hinterland, and genuinely for them to understand how these drones are used for the public good. And we believe it's also important not just to create awareness about these from the innovation side, but even Indian and global investors are likely to now come and join, as the Prime Minister himself mentioned yesterday. We also now have a responsibility of ensuring that drones are being used safely so that we don't have any incident that creates a flutter in this particular sector. Finally, why is this a lighthouse sector? It's a very small sector. It's a very nascent early stages of the overall compared to many of the other sectors. But genuinely, we have between the government, the academia, and the industry, we are having a real-time collaboration which is open, which is honest, and which is outcome-oriented towards the only focus being making India the drone hub of the world. We also believe this was the only policy of the government of India in the last few years, where not only the policy was modified, it was completely repealed based on constructive feedback that was given out by FICCI, among others. And based on that, and based on the realization that drones are genuinely delivering a wide societal impact. And finally, we all hear about the software-based applications and the valuations which are going all over the place. But I think some of the deep tech platforms, this will also open up the environment and the innovation around building unicorns in the high-tech engineering and advanced manufacturing space. And I think that is the real opportunity for drones that we should be discussing in the next two panels. That how do we enable the startups as well as the entire ecosystem to really now start using these drones effectively and start genuinely deriving benefit from their use. With that, let me end here, and if time permitting, we can take up a few questions.
Thank you, Rajan sir. That was wonderful, wonderful keynote. Thank you for explaining why this is called the shining sector of India, and that potential of more than 180,000 crores by 2030 sure looks promising. The first question that's coming up is, where do you see the most component manufacturing happening in India? And which components do you think would be the first ones that Indians and the organizations in India would start manufacturing?
So today we are seeing that across the entire drone manufacturing, both for fixed wing as well as for the multi-rotor aircraft, almost 80% of the components are being imported as of today. We believe there is an opportunity to bring that number down to 40%, which means more than 60% indigenization is possible in the next few years. The list of components and all the details are already mentioned in the PLI scheme themselves, and it covers effectively all the components and subcomponents and subsystems of the drone itself. So there is no specific limitation as such, but from an overall value perspective, I think we have not so already in India, a lot of the assembly is taking place, right? Some of the structures itself, the composite structures are being made in India. But I think some of the value will be derived when we start having the payloads, for example, being indigenized, the motors being indigenized, the batteries being indigenized, and then some of the other components also being there. But I think what my comment would be to really focus on the high value opportunities there, so that once we are able to, the volumes may not be there immediately, but if some of the enterprising companies can take a strong position in trying to drive value of those or bring value to the drone manufacturers, I think that is the opportunity which should be discussed in the next panel to follow.
Perfect. Then, sir, one more question, I think this is a very interesting one. As someone who's related to one of the biggest corporate houses in India, And as somebody, as someone who has headed a lot of operations, we would like to know: do you think, Mr. Rajan sir, if a startup has the potential to come into this state, come into drones manufacturing and disrupt what's happening in India? Do you see that happening anytime soon? And if yes, what would be your guru mantra for startups into drone manufacturing?
So I think excellent question, and to be honest, that has been really the launch pad. The policy regulations have really enabled the launch pad for the startups to now flourish. And I think in India there is an estimated number of startups in the drone space which are already more than 200. We have already, Reliance has made one investment way back in 2019, and we have still let that startup continue to run and operate independently on their own. And Neil will maybe talk about that in a little more detail later on. But I think for me, the real opportunity is for these numbers of startups in India, not just in the manufacturing, but in the services being delivered, in the software being provided, in the data or the intelligence that is gathered from the aerial imagery data. I think the opportunities are huge and unlimited. And I believe these numbers of startups in India in the drone sector overall should be somewhere closer to the 1,000 or more than 1,000 numbers in the next couple of years.
Perfect. Rajan sir, thanks a lot for this wonderful, wonderful session. We'll have to start with the next session. Your final thoughts before we move on to the first panel discussion of the day?
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Rajan sir. Now, you've heard it. I think the best part, or everything that Rajan sir said, was extremely encouraging for the drones industry. But those figures, the manufacturing potential of over rupees 180,000 crores and becoming the global hub of manufacturing drones by 2030 is something that would keep you excited till that date.